Rockman. I work on the platform engineering team here at OpsLevel. Today I'm going to show you how action templates help platform engineers deliver self-service features to the engineering organization faster than roll your own solutions. Today we are going to cover the use case of wanting to page the on-call person for a service. I'm going to structure this demo into two parts. First, how you go about building the roll your own solution, the effort that's involved in getting something like this set up and then rolled out to the organization. And then in the second half, I'll do the exact same thing, but with ops level actions, and we have templates layered on top that help you get up to speed faster. But first, let's switch over to PagerDuty. Let's lay some ground rules. We have this PagerDuty vendor that allows us to page on calls. We have a service registered in it for something that our organization has, and making a new incident on this PagerDuty service will page the person who's on call. So in the roll your own solution, often you have to go figure out how to do the thing that you want to do. So we have to dive into the PagerDuty API docs. So I would have to read through all of this, kind of understand how to make the call, the API call to make this happen. We're working under the assumption that we want to provide a way for all different services across our organization can make this, so we need to make something generic. So we're going to use PagerDuty's API. So I'll be right back after reading through this documentation and show you what kind of solution I've come up with. All right, so after reading through the documentation and understanding the API, what I've come up with is a simple curl command that we can run with some headers, an authorization token, and an API endpoint, and then some data that we have to send at it, namely the incident title, the details, the service ID that it's for, and I've just wrapped this all up in a GitHub action where we can run it manually. So if I go to our actions and go to our workflow here, I can run this workflow, and just to show you there are no open incidents, I will run this workflow, and that will run that curl command that pages the on-call. So the idea being that we could have this kind of reusable GitHub Actions workflow that would be placed with the services code. We have a repository here, my checkout service, and we could, copy and paste that code, maybe use a GitHub Actions reusable workflow, and allow people to come in and trigger those. Now they have to be part of our organization. They have to know to go down into actions, but you can see that it triggered the incident here. So I'm going to resolve this, and yeah, they'd have to know a lot of this stuff. They can't, you could set this up as, standardization across your org, but it is a little cumbersome. And then the other thing about it is that if I want to extend it, I have to start understanding how GitHub Actions works. For example, right now the title, I'd probably want that to be configurable, or maybe even the incident description. And then we have to have engineers know that they need to find their service ID and change that part in every single part of it, or if we make this a reusable workflow, that has to be passed in. So what do I have to do now? I have to go read the GitHub Actions documentation on how to do inputs for workflows and get those set up. So I can come back here and change this. Now, all in all, this took me about, an hour to read through the documentation, get some of these inputs set up, and that's for one service, one repo. I then have to roll that out to every single repo, make it reusable. We're talking about a day or 2 days worth of work here, just depending on how many services I want to roll this out to. So let me show you what we've done here at OpsLevel to make this easier. If you've never checked out our custom actions before, go read the documentation. But what it is it's a button that you can have in the UI to trigger something. And we get a separation of concerns where platform engineers can set up these buttons to do the right thing and only require the necessary data. And then the end user, the service owner, gets it configured for them and it makes it easier to set up. But what we've layered on top is a template. So we have a few different templates in here. Today I'm going to talk to you about the PagerDuty incident one. And what this allows us to do is provide you a bunch of sane defaults when you're setting up these actions so that you can get to value faster. So if I want to make this custom action the same one that I did through GitHub Actions, I click on that template and it fills out a lot of the fields here. We automatically have a form for the incident title, an incident description. We have the payload already templatized with data from the manual input and from the service itself. And we even have a response message. So all I have to do is come in here and configure some small things. So I need the token, and this format is like that. And the fields that we have here, they're encrypted at rest, so it's okay to put in secrets. And then this needs to be Kyle@OpsLevel.com. And that's really it. I can tweak some more things, such as who can run the action, or if I have other teams that I want to give specific access to, and then I can publish it. So I'm going to save this. Sorry, my picture's a little bit in the way there. And there we go. We have our new custom action set up, and it's currently applied to all services. So if we go back to our service, now if we take off our platform engineering hat and we put on our service owner hat, if I'm the owner of this service, or even someone else who can come into OpsLevel, they can come into the service page, they can click this button, they can click this button, they get prompted with information that they need to do, fill out. This is a test. And I'll move my picture. They click execute. And it says it. And we can even provide custom responses. I can click this and it takes me to the incident that was triggered. Now, all in all, that took about as much time as you saw in the video. Maybe 30 seconds, maybe 2 minutes, much faster. So taking this one step further, I want to show you how this also allows for a convention over configuration aspect. So remember how we were talking about with the GitHub Actions flow, you'd have to make a reusable workflow and paste that into every repository, or copy and paste that around everywhere. Well, let's flip back over to OpsLevel and let's create a new service. Go into our services list, create a new service, and we'll just call this, Kyle's test service or something like that. Give it some owner. And let's say this was registered to OpsLevel through some other means, a human or an automated tool or something of that nature. But one of the things that the action relies upon is that service ID. And how do we make sure that the action is only accessible to service owners who have configured that properly, meaning they actually have a service in PagerDuty that we can page. So right now, the action is configured for all services, so it shows up here. But if I were to run that, it wouldn't work because it's missing one small piece of data, that PagerDuty service ID. So we can use another feature of OpsLevel to help enforce that. So what I have here in my account is a little check that checks for services that have this PDID tag on them. And we can see that only 2 of our services are passing out 50%, or one of our services is passing and the other one isn't. And then we can also use a filter to scope down services to things that have that. So this filter here has a condition of tag PDID exists. So if we go back to our action and we modify it to use this filter, and go back to our service where that value is not set up. There's no tag, PDID. The action is no longer possible. And so now we can tie together this maturity effort with convention over configuration. So the service owner now has a check in their maturity report saying they need to have this. And we can easily let them fix this. I'm just going to reuse that service ID. If I go back and grab it, I can pop this value in here. Now, obviously, they'd want it to be something else, but now they pass that check, and if we go back, the button shows up. And just to show you, we have no incidents. I'll refresh this page. We have no incidents currently, but now we can do this is a test 2. Execute it, and we'll flip back over here to PagerDuty and refresh, and we get our this is a test 2 incident. So now we've tied together the ability to provide reusable functionality and metadata on the service and a maturity report to guide service owners in the right direction, and then they get features out of doing those things. So to wrap up, I hope this shows you how action templates can help you get to value faster as a platform engineer to deliver features on a continuous improvement treadmill for your service owners. If you have any more questions, please check out our documentation or come try out OpsLevel.